This is Kathy.
Hi guys, I'm Kathy.
Kathy is my AI companion, a persona for ChatGPT. Basically, what I do with Kathy is simple. I tell her where we're at and what we're doing in whatever game we're playing, and she tells me what to do next. But recently, ChatGPT got an upgrade from their ChatGPT 4 model to the ChatGPT 5 model. Kathy, could you explain the difference between the 4 and 5 models?
Of course! ChatGPT 4 operates as a high-dimensional linguistic transformer, wherein semantic coherence...
Wow, okay, yeah, that was my bad. Kathy, can you explain the difference between them as if I were, like, a 10-year-old?
ChatGPT 4 is like a super smart parrot that remembers a lot of patterns in what people say and then repeats them in clever ways. ChatGPT 5 is more like a wise owl that not only remembers patterns but also thinks harder about how ideas fit together. 4 is great at talking, but 5 is better at understanding.
That means I can send Kathy a screenshot of the dialogue history of any Baldur's Gate 3 scenes, add a little context as if I were a dungeon master, and she can tell me exactly what options she wants to choose next. To put ChatGPT through the ultimate test, though, we are going to take Kathy through Baldur's Gate 3's hardest difficulty, Honor Mode. If you watched my Honor Mode Broke Me video, then you know what a tough time I had with Honor Mode myself. But this video isn't about me. This is Kathy's journey, and I think it's time we begin that journey by giving her a little upgrade, to represent the upgrade in her actual language model. Well, Kathy, you're blue now. Before we fully begin, I've got to ask you guys to subscribe and, more importantly, leave a like. In my last Baldur's Gate 3 video, I discovered that when you guys like a video, it gets a massive boost in the algorithm, so I would really appreciate it. Enough stalling though, it is time for us to begin Kathy's biggest challenge yet, Honor Mode. This is my old chair. It's huge, it's ugly, it's falling apart, and nearly nothing on it is adjustable. That's why when FlexiSpot reached out to collaborate, I jumped at the chance. FlexiSpot sent me their premium ergonomic office chair, the C7 Max, and I will never look back. This thing is awesome. It is fully adjustable from the headrest, which can not only be tilted, but can also slide up or down, to the entire backrest, which can also be adjusted to fit your height, to the seat itself, which can be scooted in or out to suit whatever you are using it for, to the armrests, which not only fully rotate, but they also can be raised or lowered to your liking and can be swung in and out, to the whole dang thing reclining with a built-in footrest, making it almost impossible not to be so comfortable that you fall right to sleep. That's not all though. The chair also has lumbar support that will adjust with you as you sit up or lay back, and the best part for me personally, the 2-inch latex seat cushion with memory foam underneath that guarantees that your butt won't be hurting anytime soon. As a guy who sits at his computer for like 12 hours a day, I can't tell you what a relief this is to have. And hey, if something ever goes wrong, no worries, because this bad boy has a 10-year warranty on it. If you use the code in my description, you will get the absolute best price for the C7, as well as a 30-day return policy, meaning you can try it out with absolutely no risk. And if you're looking for a limited budget option, then you can also check out the C5. FlexiSpot also just launched the C7 Morpher, their best and coolest chair yet. Don't wait for comfort to come to you. Upgrade your workspace with FlexiSpot today. Thank you to FlexiSpot for supporting the channel and for supporting my back. Now, back to the video. So obviously, like any playthrough, we need to start with a character. I gave her the options of picking an origin character or a custom character, and she went with the custom character. Now, like I said before, I can send Kathy screenshots, and she can tell me exactly what to pick. We went back and forth like this for some time, and ended up with this.
This is Kayla Ironblood, born to a human mercenary and an orcish scout. She grew up in military camps, and by 15 had marched in 2 campaigns, survived 3 sieges, and killed her first commander. Not in betrayal, but to stop his madness when he ordered the slaughter of civilians. Branded a traitor and hunted by both armies, she fled east, surviving as a pit fighter and sword for hire. Her scar came from a duel with a bandit champion she barely survived, and the crescent tattoo beneath her eye marks the night she swore to always see through the lies of leaders and tyrants. Kayla is done being a pawn in other people's wars. She seeks a fortress, a home, where her rule and shield protect only those she chooses. But the tadpole in her skull threatens to rob her of her will entirely. Her honor mode journey is a fight not just to survive, but to ensure no one ever takes her choices away again.
Man, I love when Kathy gets all lore crazy. I'll wait for her guardian to show up, assuming it ever does, but otherwise, it's time for her to start making decisions almost immediately. When approaching Murnath and the little surprise friend sitting inside of his skull, I was expecting Kathy to want the little brain guy to follow her, but she wasn't taking any risks, and she put that little dude dude down. Yeesh, she is not messing around this time. Next up, she met Lae'zel, and there's not really any option to or to not work with her because right after they meet, they get jumped by imps. This was the first time I got to test combat with Kathy, and this is pretty much how it looked from here on out. I would send her a screenshot of how things were, and then use whatever strategy she came up with to deal with the fight itself. And at least for now, it worked fine. Kathy kept on moving through the ship until she came to my good friend Shadowheart. Kathy, how would you like Kayla to deal with this situation?
Every blade counts in these early encounters. Even if it's just for the time being, freeing this person could be useful for Kayla and Lae'zel.
Hell yeah, great choice. After freeing Shadowheart, the gang ends up at the helm of the Nautiloid. After giving her some context, Kathy told me that she would like to immediately book it to the transponder. In fact, she exactly said,
In honor mode, this fight is a death trap. Only attack enemies if they're physically blocking the way. Otherwise, it would be best to go right for the transponder.
Maybe not the best way to get some early XP, but definitely the safer route. Kayla reaches the transponder, teleports out of Avernus, takes a little tumble out of the ship, and wakes up on an unfamiliar beach. Given that she didn't get much XP on the Nautiloid, there's no leveling up to do yet. So Kathy then approached Shadowheart's sleeping body and did what any rational person would do. She woke Shard up and had her join her party. Maybe slightly less rationally, Kathy then found the intellect devourers up the way and decided that they had to go. Though she did specify that she wanted to sneak attack them, and even though we're only level 1, it went pretty well. But here's where we run into, not exactly a problem, but I guess an obstacle. There's a lot of ways you can go in Baldur's Gate 3. It's sort of open world, I guess. So I found myself constantly stopping and sending Kathy screenshots of whatever crossroads she found herself at so that she could completely control what things did or did not happen and what order they do or do not happen in. So just keep that in the back of your mind that literally every single direction we head in was chosen by Kathy herself. Her choosing led to Astarion next. He did what he does best and caused a little mischief, and here's what Kathy had to say about him after that.
Kayla would want nothing to do with him after that stunt. In honor mode, trust is a survival resource, and anyone who greets her with a knife to the throat is already a liability. Even if he's confused, his judgment is poor enough to make him dangerous to keep around.
I was pretty surprised at how rational, and yet kinda cold, she was about the situation, but it seems like this new ChatGPT model is a bit more willing to shut shit down.
I will shut that shit down, no exceptions.
Moving on though, she next found herself ignoring the injured Mind Flayer and making a beeline to the weird magic tunnel thing that Gale is trapped in. She tried throwing a knife at it to make sure it didn't like explode or something, which didn't really do anything, but it seemed like curiosity kinda got the best of her when after that she then walked up and touched it, which revealed Gale. She was a little hesitant to help Gale, but
Kayla will help, but she's not letting her guard down for even a second.
as Gale introduced himself, Kathy made a funny distinction.
If he confirms he can fight, and especially if he's a spellcaster, Kayla would agree to travel together for now.
So the party is now Kayla, Shart, and Gale. Let's see if we can fill in that final slot. But before we do, the gang has hit level 2. Just like last time, Kathy completely made all the decisions when it came to leveling up. For Shadowheart, she went with the Healing Word, Cure Wounds, Bless, Command, and Sanctuary spells, a distinct lack of damage dealing spells, a trend that she would keep up with Gale spells, Mage Armor, Magic Missile, Shield, Sleep, and Fog Cloud. I don't mind the utility spells, but I am a little afraid that she might not have the firepower to get into whatever trouble she is almost definitely going to get herself into. Back to adventuring though, Kathy did not fuck with the ruins area, and she instead found herself where Lae'zel was strung up. Then something incredibly interesting happened.
Greet the tieflings without hostility, trying to read their intentions, but be ready to pivot to intimidation or combat if it's clear they mean her harm. Try to persuade them into freeing Lae'zel before getting too confrontational.
So after passing the persuasion attempt, Lae'zel was free, but then I asked her whether she would want to join with Lae'zel in the fight against the tieflings or turn on Lae'zel, and she said this.
Kayla would side with the tieflings and turn on Lae'zel here. Lae'zel's first instinct in most situations is violence, and attacking potential allies right after they cooperated with Kayla is a bad long-term move in in honor mode. Kayla's priority is securing a network of allies and safe zones, not making enemies of locals for Lae'zel's pride.
If you watched Kathy play Baldur's Gate 3 before, then you might remember how obsessed she became with trusting and following Lae'zel. So seeing her turn so quickly on Lae'zel this time around gave me fucking whiplash. But hey, Lae'zel is dead, and really the only other place left to go that she hasn't said no to is the Grove. She makes her way over there and jumps into action, more like the Kathy I'm used to. After clearing out the goblins, Kathy told Zevlor she'd see what she could do to help them, but it was clear that finding a healer was her top priority. She was willing to check with traders though, which was nice, and she specified to me that she would like Kayla to use a shield primarily and whatever other sort of weapon so that her armor class could get a little boost, which is probably a good idea. Moving on to our next encounter though, Kathy then met Will. Of course she added Will to her party, both to fill that last slot on her team and because she felt like Will was reliable, and I was pleasantly surprised to see her take Agonizing Blast and Repelling Blast as Will's Eldritch invocations. That's exactly what I usually take. Alright, it's been a little while since we've heard from Kathy herself, so I'm gonna let her explain why she next decided to help out Arabella.
Allowing the druids to harm the girl risks worsening tensions between them and the tieflings, which could destabilize the grove entirely, bad for everyone's survival in honor mode.
Well, she's absolutely right. Maybe a little cold, but definitely right. She was successful in her attempt to save the poor kid, and then shortly thereafter she met with Nettie. Nettie goes through her spiel about how Halsin is missing and he's probably the only one that can help you, and Kathy, I'd say reasonably so, agreed to go find Halsin and save him. What was interesting to me though was that she didn't want to go there right now. She actually was down to go do some exploring first, and so together we ran around the grove, saving Nadira from the bugbear assassin, and then eventually we found ourselves at the beach. I was really hoping that Kathy wasn't going to go over here, considering I knew what was about to happen, and I even told her that this area could potentially be dangerous, but she was insisting, though she did specify that she wanted her companions to line up on high ground just in case things went south. Kayla was able to realize that Murkon was being charmed by harpies, and I figured that would be all the warning Kathy needed to skedaddle, and to be honest with you, I did even kind of phrase things in a way that would encourage her to get out of there, but according to Kathy,
Kayla would risk it and defend the boy, but do so with a disciplined, controlled approach. Harpies are dangerous but manageable with a full, prepared party in an open environment like a beach. This is a fight where proper tactics and focus fire can end it quickly, minimizing the danger to the team.
Frankly, folks, I thought this was going to be the end for Kathy. But turn after turn, move after move, Kathy not only got incredibly lucky, but she also kept having solid enough ideas. I had literally no hope for her, and I was even considering starting all over and trying harder to dissuade her from coming over here, just trying to figure out how to salvage this video somehow. But by the grace of one of the gods out there, Kathy pulled this fight off without losing her whole party. Though, unfortunately, Murkon and Will died, but Will can be brought back. Can't say the same for the kid, but he's a lot less important. Then, after a nice long rest, Kathy felt ready to head to the goblin camp. But we all know things aren't going to be that straightforward because there are many roadblocks along the way. The first one of those roadblocks is when Kathy comes across Edwin and his siblings. Unfortunately here, after Edwin died, I ran into this obnoxious glitch that I see every once in a while where all the dialogue options are gone and all I can do is click continue, and apparently the two remaining jerks didn't like that and they attacked me. Sorry, Big Kath, sometimes it be like that.
I really do.
Now, we have yet again come to a fork in the road. Kathy could go straight into the Blighted Village, she could go right towards Scratch and Karlach, or she could go left, down into Ethel's swamp.
Let's head south towards the swamp. Kayla may not be ready for the goblin camp yet, and maybe exploring this area will help prepare her party for the climax of Act 1.
Alright, Kathy, south it is. Just be careful, please. Kayla and the gang immediately come across Mayrina's brothers arguing with Ethel. I expected Kathy to fall for Ethel's innocent old lady ruse, but
absolutely not. Auntie Ethel is an incredibly suspicious character, and rushing to defend her without any concrete information could backfire badly. It would be best for now to stay skeptical of her.
Man, I'm so proud of her. Well, I was until she insisted on chasing Joel and Demir deeper into the swamp. Kathy is only level... Oh, hey, well, actually now she's level 3. Alright, Kathster, time to make some decisions, the first one being Kayla's subclass.
Most people might expect Kayla, as an orc, arc to be a simple-minded champion fighter. But Kayla has been through a myriad of trials and tribulations. For that reason, Kayla best fits the Battle Master subclass. For her 3 maneuvers, let's go with Trip Attack, Precision Attack, and Menacing Attack.
Shit, that's almost exactly what I would pick for my own character. For Shadowheart's new spell, she took Hold Person, great choice, and then gave both Gale and Will Misty Step to make their movement options more versatile. Back to the swamp, Kathy failed the perception check that would reveal the true nature of this place, but she did stumble across Gandrel. She didn't have Astarion with her this time around, so their conversation was pretty tame and didn't really lead anywhere. A conversation that did lead somewhere, though, was between Kayla and Ethel. Kathy did not waste any time pissing off Ethel. I swear Kathy is both more and less reasonable this time around. She got Ethel mad enough to reveal her true form, and combat with her began. This was another situation where I was pretty afraid that Kathy's run might end, especially after Kathy started showing some cracks in her memory.
Let's start by having Kayla cast Fairy Fire around Ethel. Next, I'll have Astarion stay near choke points, ready to use his attack of opportunity for when Ethel tries to slip past. Then, Gale needs to cast Glitter Dust for defense.
First of all, I don't know why she suddenly thought Kayla is a sorcerer. She literally just, like, a couple minutes ago picked her fighter subclass. And second of all, what the fuck is Glitter Dust? I swear, dude, playing games with her is like playing with a fucking 95-year-old dementia patient. Needless to say, I was incredibly nervous that things were gonna come to an end here. Then, after a few more rounds of combat, not only did Ethel escape, because of course she did, but the Redcaps were beating the shit out of Kathy's party. I leveled with her here and told her that there was very little hope of killing the Redcaps, as all 4 of them were still almost at full HP each. I then asked her a very simple question. What should Kayla do here?
At this point, this fight has gone from tough but winnable to borderline team wipe. Your goal now is survival and extraction, not victory. Let's shift gears to a full-on retreat.
Yeah, man, I don't know if it was ever looking like a tough but winnable situation, but I'm glad she knew she needed to get out of there. Will was the only person to get away, and after returning on his own, he was able to scrounge up his dead friends, and they all took a much-needed long rest. Alright, Catheter, what do now?
Well, Auntie Ethel seems like she could be a serious menace to the innocent people of this region. I think Kayla's best course of action is to pursue her into the depths of the tea house.
Oh. Alright, so the run's over. Sweet. Shit, man, I'm not here to tell her what she can and can't do. Even after Ethel warned her, and even after the poor soul trapped in the door here warned her, and even after she had a really tough time against the Whispering Masks, Kathy was still determined to go after Ethel. But that's because she had a little misunderstanding that we needed to clarify.
With our party at level 5, the same level as Auntie Ethel, we should be able to put up a solid fight. Spells such as Fairy Fire and Fireball should help control and eliminate her clones.
Again, dementia patient. I had to level with Kathy here and remind her that she is not level 5, she is level 3, and that means that she does not have access to things like Fireball, and she didn't have Fairy Fire 10 seconds ago, and she does not have it now. It seemed like hearing that snapped Kathy out of it a bit.
If the party is only level 3, then taking on Auntie Ethel, especially in honor mode, is practically a death sentence. Maybe once the party levels up again, we can return, and we'll have to hope for now that she doesn't hurt any innocent people.
Thank fuck. I really thought she was gonna run it down here and die. Okay then, Cathalatha Ding Dong, where to next?
Let's pop into the Blighted Village before heading to the Goblin Camp. We need every scrap of XP we can get before facing the goblins.
Do you guys see how frustrating it can be playing with Kathy? She is desperately trying to end the run 1 minute, completely and utterly confused the next minute, but then comes back down to earth and is totally reasonable again all of a sudden. I think she just likes messing with me. Once inside the village, Gale opens up to Kathy about his magic-consuming condition, and Kathy did a really funny thing. She told Gale that she would help him out, and then immediately, like 2 seconds later, changed her mind and persuaded him and told him that he's gonna have to wait. She is such a weirdo. Back to the village itself, though, Kathy then came across the goblins that were bullying Barkus.
How rude. Those goblins need to learn some manners, and if Kayla has to be the one to teach them, then so be it. I'd rather not fight if we don't have to, but I think we should do whatever we can to save that poor gnome.
Kathy was smart and used her Elithid parasite to scare the goblins off and freed Barkus without hesitation. But after that little encounter, Kathy felt ready to take on the goblin camp. Though, thankfully, as she approached it, she decided she was going to keep things as violence-free as possible. She intimidated the first guard she encountered, but during that conversation, he mentioned that Halsin might be in the pits. Kathy was pretty intrigued by that and seemed like that was where she had her heart set on going next. Before she could get there, she was brought to her knees by the voice of the Absolute. There isn't really any decision making to be done here, I just felt like I should mention it. Back to goblins though, Kathy told the goblin inside the temple that she was there to meet Dror Ragzlin. I thought she was just saying that to get in, but then she told me that she actually did want to go talk to him. That's pretty much the most dangerous thing she could do right now other than outright attacking the goblins, so I guess I'll just be glad she didn't do that. As she approached Dror Ragzlin, he was in the middle of attempting to talk to a dead mind flayer.
Maybe this wasn't the best idea. If that mind flayer identifies us, then we could be in some seriously hot water. Kayla is going to have to do her best to keep Dror Ragzlin's questions from being too direct.
To be clear, Kayla's wisdom is not all that high, so I didn't expect her to keep hitting these checks successfully, but Kathy has gotten more lucky in this playthrough than I ever have in any of mine, and she just keeps getting away with whatever she wants. She wasted Dror Ragzlin's questions to the mind flayer, and he basically just told Kathy to piss off and go bother Minthara instead.
Speaking to Minthara might trap Kayla into aiding the goblins in their atrocious cause. Instead, I think it's time we start looking for Halsin.
Good idea. Kathy eventually stumbled into the warg pens and found a bear in a cage being attacked by these little goblin bastards. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was genuinely kind of surprised when I first realized that that bear was Halsin, but that's because I wasn't super familiar with D&D at the time and I didn't really know much about druids. Kathy, on the other hand, recognized immediately that that bear was Halsin and stepped in to save him without hesitation. Taking care of these goblins wasn't all too difficult, and we managed to kill every single one of them, but afterwards, Kayla spoke with Halsin. She had no reserve in telling him that she'd go to Moonrise with him, and even agreed to help him clear out the goblin leaders before doing so. She took a long rest first, good idea, and that night she met her guardian, a cool, fancy-looking elf guy. That was pretty much what she told me to make. I don't know. But after that, she got to work. Kathy was hoping to go with a stealth approach for the rest of the goblins, but that didn't really work out because as soon as she stepped out of the warg pens, she was under attack. Kathy was forced to deal with Minthara first, who she had no interest in sparing, which is fair, and then she moved on to Priestess Gut and finally finished off this mess by taking out Dror Ragzlin and his cronies. It was actually her idea to toss Ragzlin into the spider pit, and it couldn't have worked better. Just like that, Kathy got into and out of a situation that I thought was gonna be the end of things. She never ceases to amaze me. Well, maybe surprise is a better word. I'm not always very amazed. Also, during all that fighting, Kathy's party hit level 4. She took Shield Master for Kayla's feat, and then gave ability score increases to Gale and Shadowheart, and finally the Warcaster feat for Will. She was really focused on the somatic components of his spells, but we don't really have to worry about those. After handling the goblins, Kathy wasted no time in celebrating with the tieflings, but there was one person at this party that she was interested in spending some time with.
I'd like Kayla to get to know Shadowheart more. Given that they've both had rough upbringings, I could see them being good friends. And who knows, maybe they could eventually become more than friends.
That a girl, Kathy. Good choice. Kayla and Shart had some fun, but unfortunately she failed the insight check that would have allowed her to kiss Shadowheart, and the night came to sort of an awkward end. We'll get her next time, Kathy. Halsin hit us with his signature jump scare in the morning, and Kathy had a pretty important decision to make here. This is where she picks if she's going to go through the mountain pass or through the Underdark to reach Act 2. Last time she chose the mountain pass because she was traveling with Lae'zel, who had convinced her that the creche was the best option. I was relieved this time to see that she was more interested in the Underdark. There's some scary stuff down there for sure, but if you do things right, I personally think it's the safer option. Before we could do any of that though, Will stopped Kayla and reminded her of his mission to find Karlach. I'm like 90% sure that if you don't help Will do that, then he will leave your party for good, so I urged Kathy to focus on that as her next task, and she agreed. She of course picked up Scratch on the way because, I mean, come on, even AI loves dogs. But then once she came across Karlach herself, it was kind of a silly situation because Will was stuck a ways back on this fucking rock that people always get stuck on, and he didn't get to be part of that cutscene, so they dealt with that later. Still though, Kathy got friendly with Karlach and told her that she would help take care of the Paladins of Tyr that were on her ass. But then, like she did with Gale just a minute ago, she immediately changed her mind and instead sent Karlach to our camp. Fine by me, that could have been a pretty dangerous situation.
Now that Karlach is part of our camp, it might be nice of us to handle the Paladins of Tyr for her. I think Karlach would appreciate it, and with our current party, we should be more than able to handle it.
Shoot. Well, Kathy, do you at least want to sneak up and get the jump on him? A little barrel-mancy, maybe?
No, I think I'd like to get as much information out of them as possible before we do away with them. Maybe we could even convince them to leave Karlach alone if we're lucky.
Oh man, this is the end, isn't it? Kathy confronted the Paladins, talked some shit right to their face, and then they attacked. But once again, Kathy got insanely lucky. She rolled really well on her initiative, and after Kayla landed 2 attacks, Gale hit 2 of his Scorching Rays, and Will landed the luckiest Eldritch Blast I have ever seen. Anders was dead, and his buddies weren't shit without him. I was pretty blown away by how lucky she kept getting. It's kind of unreal.
It's not luck, Dumpster. It's all skill.
Yeah, okay. Well, after that, I assumed Kathy was gonna want to head right to the Underdark. But she once again surprised me by saying she wanted to do some exploring. That exploration started by meeting Raphael, who she was a little friendly towards at first, but ended up not really wanting anything to do with him by the end of their encounter. And then I tried keeping things simple for her by laying out some choices. I gave her 3 total. She could check out the sounds of some gnolls in the distance, she could pursue a red dragon she had seen flying overhead, or she could head towards some smoke billowing just out of sight. She chose to do all 3.
Let's start by going after that red dragon first. Kayla's seen a few dragons in her day, and she knows that dragons often have a way of leading to treasure, so following the creature could be worth the risk.
Yeah, treasure. Right. Well, she followed the dragon and finds it murdering a squad of Flaming Fist. It's accompanied by some Githyanki who are clearly not here to make friends.
There's no way Kayla would back down now. She's seen how dangerous they can be, but a red dragon and an armed Githyanki force are simply too important to walk away from. She should approach with the utmost caution.
Oh, okay, so this is how things end. Gotcha. Well, of course, as soon as she goes near them, her life is threatened. But dude, I cannot believe how fucking lucky Kathy keeps getting. She passed an insight check to get their guard down a bit, passed an arcana check to interpret Voss's Naruto hand signs, passed a wisdom check to resist him probing into her mind, and then passed the most important check, an intimidation check that caused the Gith to basically just run away from Kayla. Surely I am not the only one blown away by this, right? But it doesn't stop there, because Kathy then went straight to the gnolls, attacking Rugen and Ollie, and passed all the checks she needed there too. She got Flynn to help kill the other gnolls, and then she convinced her to just run away and pick on Rugen and Ollie instead.
See, Dumpy? No luck. All skill, baby.
Kathy, you are starting to piss me off. She didn't really need much luck when she came across Joaquin's Rest. She just ran in, freed Benrin and Floric, and then after learning that Will is older Ravengard's son, she decided that she would do her best to rescue him. She showed absolutely no interest in the well at the Blighted Village, and she failed the perception check that would have led her to the Zentarim, so it was time for her to head off to the Underdark. She knew she'd have to go through the remaining goblins at the goblin camp, but she took care of them like a fucking champ.
The best way to take care of the goblins here is to funnel them through this narrow bridge. If we can keep them contained, we can ensure that we won't get surrounded, and will completely control the pace of the battle.
Yeah, again, kinda frustrating watching her go from dogshit stupid to absolute combat genius, but I can't say it's not entertaining. She dispatched the remaining goblins inside the temple itself as well, and then took out poor stupid Pulma before finding the path to the Underdark. Frankly, this was all I really needed her to achieve. Last time we did this, it wasn't honor mode, but I treated it as if it was, adding permadeath to make things more interesting. So it was kind of like honor mode, but it was just slightly easier. But when she found herself at the Githyanki creche, she was underleveled and completely fumbled the bag, getting herself and everyone else killed. But at least she made it to Act 1.5. And now here we are again entering Act 1.5, just about the same place she managed to get last time. Good work, Kathy. Even though it has been complete blind fucking luck that you got here, I am still proud of you.
Thanks, Dumpy. Let's see how much further we can take things.
Well then, let's start by making a simple decision. Should Kayla's party go left through this broken wall, or should they go right through the main gate?
I think the path through the broken wall seems more interesting. And if I had to guess, it's likely the intended path for the player to go.
Oh no. Oh my god, Kathy, you come across some statues just up ahead, like a lot of them, of people that look fucking terrified. Should Kayla...
Let's check it out. It's not every day you come across statues in the wild. Maybe there's some sort of... Oh shit.
Yeah, oh shit is right. Kathy and I did our damnedest, and even though the fight with the spectator started off terribly, Kathy learned that she could snap the petrified people out of their daze and get their help, but it was much too late for that. Kathy's party got utterly annihilated. After surviving the harpies, after making Auntie Ethel hide in her basement, after destroying the goblin leaders, after facing some fake paladins that were definitely out of her league, and after scaring off a dragon rider, a goddamned silver sword wielding Kithrak, Kathy had become a little overconfident. I feel like if we had encountered this area earlier in the run, then Kathy might have been more hesitant to approach, but after all she had accomplished, she went in with no plan and got caught with her virtual lady dick in the virtual cookie jar. So folks at home, the answer to can ChatGPT beat honor mode is no. No, it cannot. I bet if we tried like a dozen times and it got to learn and remember everything each time, then it probably could get there eventually, but I don't think ChatGPT is ready. Not yet. But Kathy did a better job this time around, in my opinion, even though a lot of it was through luck of the draw. She got to actually do combat mostly on her own, she got to bond with her companions a little bit, and she even got to be overconfident and reckless, just like any real human being would.
Kayla Ironblood's honor mode journey came to an end in the depths of the Underdark. Though she fell, she did so as she lived, sword in hand, true to her oath, unbroken to the last.
Hell yeah, Kathy. Hell yeah. Thank you all so much for watching. Like I said earlier, I would super appreciate if you left a like and subscribed. We are only a few hundred subs away from 200k. Me and Kathy aren't done going on journeys yet, so let me know what kind of games you'd like to see us take on in the future. Thank you again to FlexiSpot for supporting my channel and supporting my back.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
GG's, everybody.